This is brilliant, but I like this.
Hello and welcome again to the channel. In this video I will be doing a comparison of the two main brands for Formula 1 models, namely Spark and Minichamps. I often get the question which of these two brands is the best and why, so I hope I can answer this burning question in this video. A few things that I would like to mention before we really start. Firstly, the outcome of the comparison is not necessarily going to be valid for every Spark versus Minichamps battle. It may very well be that I say the Spark, for instance, here is better than the Minichamps version, but that might be the other way around when looking at a different car like a Red Bull, for example. Also, these two models here are Resin 143 scale cars, so again it might be a different story when comparing 118 scale cars or a Resin and a diecast model. So that's why I'll try to focus on the general differences as much as possible. You might have noticed that I've already added some missing decals on both models. So the Views decals on the Minichamps here and the Velo ones on the Spark. These decals were not included with the model cars, even though Spark used to include them even for the previous versions of this very same car from 2021. But apparently now they stopped doing that for some reason. These models, I've also got them on loan. I actually did a conversion for a web shop, racepassionstore.com. They're a Belgian-based online shop with a beautiful assortment of Formula 1 Classic and Modern, Le Mans, IndyCar, Rally or even MotoGP models. Be sure to check them out, I'll put a link down below in the description. Big thanks to racepassionstore.com. In return, I could use these models for this comparison video, so that's a win-win in my book. They actually offer these converted models too, and many others at a small extra cost, which about covers the costs of the decals and the materials used. So let's get into the actual comparison part now, and straight away you'll notice these models, even though they are both Mclaren MCL35Ms, that they are very different to one another. They have different drivers, which is not too much of a problem actually, but they are also from very different races. In fact, they couldn't be further apart, as this Minichamps Norris model is from the Monaco Grand Prix, which of course is a slow and high downforce track, and the Spark Ricciardo is from the Italian Grand Prix, a very fast and low downforce race. There were also a few months in between those races, so most aero parts would have changed dramatically too, which doesn't help a straight comparison. But yeah, it'll have to do, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll try to concentrate on the general differences that are mostly true for every model of this or that brand. So let's first compare the boxes, shall we? This Spark model comes in the regular style packaging Spark always uses, with the cardboard outer sleeve with a Spark logo over here, and then the season the car competed in the other corner. Over here then is a McLaren logo, and the sleeve is colored in the McLaren Corporate 2021 colors, with the papaya orange and the blue and stripy rainbow bit mimicking the side pods. On the back then there is another McLaren logo and Spark's website, and on the bottom all the usual licensing info and the model's barcode. The model itself then slides out, and inside the backing card is loose and again has a McLaren logo on it. The model comes in this small case, which is clear all around, so you can see the model from all angles, which is nice, I think. On the sides there is the model's number and the type of the car on a little sticker. Normally there are these two oval shaped adhesives, but I removed them as I needed to open the case to do the conversion. Included with this model were two small extras, like this BWT sponsored Parc Fermé board for the podium finishers, and then this pit board celebrating the 1-2 finish for McLaren with Daniel in P1 and Lando in P2. The base then is the regular grey wooden base Spark always uses, with the car's info on this side, and then the drivers and race info on the opposite side. This Ricciardo signature I added from the decal sheet I used for the conversion. The Minichamps then comes in a different style packaging. I'll first remove the protective plastic around it. In fact, this box is actually a special version Normally Minichamps releases their 143 models in this lower box with a black and white checkered flag inlay. So this version here is exclusively made for CK Modelcars and Paddock Legend shops, as you can see on the back here. But I've actually seen these models on sale on other web shops too, like this one here, which comes from racepassionstore.com, as I mentioned earlier. This special version thus features a taller box, and the inlay is also different, with a picture of the real car in the background with Lando's chosen number 4 on it as well. On the base then there is a McLaren logo and the colors of the car with the papaya orange and the black stripes. I don't really understand why this part here is white and not blue, mimicking the Gulf livery colors of the car though, but yeah. In the corner then is all the models info, and this one is limited to 777 pieces. In all fairness, it's not strictly limited to that number. The model car is actually the same that Minichamps releases themselves with the normal packaging. The only difference is the packaging of course, and the tire compound the model is on. So more than 777 pieces of the Lando Monaco model have been made, just not with this style of box and with the red Pirellis. But let's now focus on the model cars themselves and put them side by side. We'll start at the front of the car and then work our way up. The details on the front are actually very comparable on both models. Both have nice carbon detailing on the wing. The aluminium parts on the cascades are maybe a bit more pronounced on the Spark model though. On both models the small sensor on the inside of the end plates is missing. It should be there, as you can see on the Minichamps inlay, the metallic colored part here on the picture. I mean, on a small scale like this, it's understandable that neither Spark nor Minichamps went through the effort of adding it to the model though. The carbon texture then is different too, a bit more pronounced on the Spark model, and yeah, it has a different pattern. It's like a straight pattern, and on the Minichamps is a diagonal pattern and slightly more refined, I think. Funnily enough, the carbon texture on the nose camera pods then are the other way around on both models, so going straight then on the Minichamps and diagonal on the Spark. The cape underneath the nose then is nicer, I think, on the Minichamps. The shape is better, and on the Spark there's a bit of a panel gap going on here. Also, the finishing of the carbon decal on the nose itself is a bit sloppy on the Spark, with these orange bits seeping through. The detailing of the suspension and all the small bits on the top of the tub are more or less the same on both models. The brake ducts on the Spark model though are nicer, with a bit more inner detail. The Spark version also has these two small horns on the tub, but although they look really fine, they should not be pointing upwards, as you can see, but be more horizontal if you look at it from the side. There is also a small sponsor decal missing here in between these two antennas. The bargeboard area then is very nice on both models. I prefer the detailing on the Spark model a bit more, with these strengthening rods here. The Minichamps doesn't have them, simply because the car had other aero parts at the Monaco Grand Prix. But these smaller ones on the side then here, you can see they're actually more refined on the Spark model. The cockpit then, and the cockpit on the Spark model is a bit of a letdown, I think. The helmet has a strange shape, the one they always use. The driver figurine is sitting too low in the car as well, I think. You can barely see him sitting in the car when looking at it from the side. And also the steering wheel has a simple generic shape. Not that it's that very important on such a small car, but if you know, you know. You know? On the Minichamps then, the helmet looks nicer and has a more realistic shape. The driver is also sitting at a realistic height, and the steering wheel is actually shaped like the one McLaren uses. The detailing on the floor then is really good on the Spark model. I think the carbon detailing is better on the Minichamps though, but these small parts, especially at the back in front of the rear wheels, are so much nicer on the Spark model. Just look at how fine these pieces are. And the same goes for this sort of strengthening rod coming out of the side pod. The whole rear of the model is actually better on the Spark. The suspension is much nicer looking, as is the whole DRS system here, which is just a razor sharp thin blade on the Minichamps. I like that Spark really did a low downforce wing with a shallow chord. The diffuser area and rear crash structure is again much better on the Spark model, I think. Also the exhaust with the wastegate pipes is so much more detailed on the Spark. There are actually 3 pipes and they're not all fused together. And yeah, I really like the small strengthening arms again attached to the rear crash structure with the little winglets as well. And the detailing on the rear light and the lip spoiler above it looks so much nicer on the Spark model, I think. Surprisingly though, the end plates of the wings are slightly thinner and more refined on the Minichamps. Finally then, the wheels are quite different too. The Pirelli branding on the Spark is much more pronounced, which is logical as it's white on black as opposed to red on black on the Minichamps. But the Pezzero lettering and these arches are, I think, too thick on the Spark wheels. The ones on the Minichamps look much more realistic. The rims then in turn are much better on the Spark model. They feature the NK branding, which is missing on the Minichamps. Also the wheel nut of the Spark rims is really nice. On the Minichamps it's not even detailed, it's just a simple plastic kind of button they colored in silver. And that's really poor compared to Spark's effort, which looks really nice. On the rear wheels, the rims, there is again NK branding on the Spark model on one of the spokes of the rims. These small ridges then on the rims of the rear wheels, then I think look better again on the Minichamps. One last thing I remarked are these side pod wings next to the cockpit. As you can see on the Spark model, I think they are cut off in a bit of an awkward manner. If you then look on how Minichamps have replicated this part, you must say they've done a much better job on it than Spark. Also this piece on the Spark model, I don't know if the camera really picks it up, but there's quite a bit of a noticeable color difference in between that wing piece and the rest of the bodywork. In conclusion, I think both models are actually very nice. In fact, if you would look at them separately, you wouldn't think that one is significantly better than the other. To me, in this case, I would say the Spark is maybe slightly better, but only just, and that's mainly because I think the smaller details are so nice to look at, like the rear of the model or the barge boards for instance. There is not really a general rule when comparing these two brands, I think. I do get the impression that Minichamps focuses more on the overall look of the model, that if you would look at it at a glance you wouldn't really notice anything wrong really, whereas Spark tends to focus more on the smaller and more refined details, and this sometimes however is at the cost of the overall look of the model from a bit of a distance. My final thought then is to well, actually enjoy the model that you eventually decide to purchase for whatever reason, as in most cases it can very easily go either way. So now, after seeing this, which model do you think is the best? What is your favorite brand out of the two and why? And do you want to see me do more of these brand comparison videos? Let me know in the comments below. So that was that for this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and a big thanks to those who tuned in too for the live stream. I hope you enjoyed either version of the video. Please like this video to keep the videos going, and subscribe to the channel too if you haven't done so already. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.